Yeah, I'm Louie, and I'm the Learning and Innovation Lead at Amala. And so my role centers on, at the moment, a lot around our facilitator development and curriculum development. Those are kind of the two main aspects of my role and ongoing improvement of those. And I've been with Amala for, I think, 4 to 5 years now, kind of from the very early stages when we were still called Sky School to now when we're called Amala. So it's been great to see yeah, the growth and development. So we created the facilitator training program, development program, because we at Amala have a pretty strong belief that want educators on our programs to be close to the communities that they're working with. And so in many circumstances, that means where possible hiring educators from the local population and also where possible as well, refugees themselves. So that kind of means that they have a really strong understanding of the students' context and the things that students are going through. So we think that's really, really important. What that did mean is that we would need to support those educators and facilitators in Amala's approach to teaching and learning and develop those skills and capacities, knowing that there's already a lot of existing skills and capacities there as well. So it's about strengthening that and building that up. So that's why we've developed this program that kind of is a bit of an accelerated teacher training program in many ways, so that we can be confident that our educators are kind of equipped with the skills they need to facilitate really high quality, strong student learning, and also enables us to recruit from kind of the local context. And just to add on to that previous point as well, it also enables us to think about hiring alumni as facilitators. It gives a pipeline from kind of graduating from our program. And obviously this isn't for all students, but for some students, they may end up going into our facilitator development program and then facilitating on the on Amala programs. And that has happened in both Jordan and Kakuma refugee camp. So there's another aspect to it. The program itself has kind of through several iterations and has developed, but at the moment it centers around three main competencies, which are learning design, learning facilitation, and learning improvement. So being able to plan really good learning, being able to facilitate it in the classroom, and then being able to think about how you use data and evidence to improve learning design and facilitation. That is achieved through a model of we have a kind of set of resources and strategies. We integrate coaching and observation and peer learning, and then also modules that kind of support facilitators in exploring particular problems and challenges in the classroom, being exposed to potential strategies and approaches, developing a strategy, and then having a scaffolded approach to testing those things out in the classroom. And so the modules that we have are things like we looked at when you're looking at learning design is thinking about backwards curriculum design, right? So starting from what are we hoping students will learn, how are we going to support them in evidencing that learning, and therefore what the learning that needs to happen to get there. We've also had assessment foundations. We also had quite an important module around supporting colleagues to investigating learning and supporting colleagues to improve. And that one was where facilitators are kind of developing those skills to support and coach each other, get into each other's classrooms and generate data for each other and speak to learners and support each other in improving, basically. So that's the basic premise, right? We have this idea of peer coaching, We have modules that kind of introduce strategies and ideas around certain important concepts in facilitation and that ongoing coaching and development. One of the main bits of feedback we get is that a lot of the learning and the modules that we do, it's immediately applicable. So facilitators are supported in thinking about, so it's a different approach. It's not saying, you have to do this, this, and this. It's saying, here's some challenges in the classroom that teachers typically face. So one of them would be, how do you make thinking and learning visible? It's a challenge that we face in teaching, and it's important because if we can make thinking and learning visible, we can use that information, first of all, for students so that they can work out what's next. And then also facilitators can use it to plan their next steps, right? And so they kind of investigate that a bit, and then they presented with potential strategies they could use, and they use that to develop a plan that's appropriate for them and their students, and then are supported in putting that into practice and reflecting on it. And so we have often communal sharing of impact. So that's where we come together and we facilitators share the impact they've had in a particular module on learners. And even the way that facilitators are eventually evaluated and awarded their certificate is based around evidence, right? So it's a portfolio, and they will take things that they've done in the classroom, the impact they've had, and use that to get awarded kind of or demonstrate mastery for those three main competencies around learning design, facilitation, and improving learning. And that's kind of done at the end it's kind of done as we go using a portfolio. And then there's also a final viva voce where facilitators kind of explain how they've demonstrated and evidenced mastery. An important piece of learning in the program is that piece around learning design. And the way that we approached it this time was looking at understanding by design, which is quite a famous approach from these guys, Wiggins and McTighe, used all over the world. And in essence, it just helped give facilitators a strategy and approach for structuring learning and designing courses. So moving away from here's a planner and I'm just going to copy it to, oh, I'm a learning designer. I can support students in reaching these goals. I can think about the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values that are going to support students in reaching these goals. I can contextualize that. I can put it in the right order. I can design activities that are relevant for my students. And I can also then, importantly, design ways that they can demonstrate and evidence that learning. And what we've seen after that is an increased confidence in facilitators in kind of planning that and making sure that learning is relevant and useful for our learners. So they've sort of developed a bit more of a critical eye and confidence to decide when to do things and when not to do things. But also that we're starting to see higher quality work emerging from learners through kind of more relevant tasks, because now that facilitators have a bit more ownership over the tasks, they're more relevant to learners, they're better scaffolded. Facilitators are changing the instruction so that it works for our learners, and that is then leading to better quality work, right? In terms of the actual program that we've developed, it's all delivered in-house. We did have a volunteer consultant join us, Anne-Marie, this year, who did a fantastic module on assessment, where facilitators explored formative and summative assessment. But in general, it is all in-house. At the moment, delivered by me, but Anne-Marie contributed a lot to certain things. Our learning leads have contributed a lot to the development, and equally our facilitators have contributed. We do have other professional learning opportunities for facilitators where we bring in sort of outside expertise. But that's definitely based on kind of emerging priorities for our individual kind of sites. Whereas the program is more of a it's been designed in a certain way for us to deliver and build upon. We have opportunities for facilitators to get coaching if they want, that's beyond the program. So within the program, they kind of get peer coaching, but beyond the program, our learning leads support them with one-to-one coaching kind of on a weekly basis. And facilitators also have access to external coaches who are outside of Amala if they want. That's kind of completely voluntary. And we have other mechanisms like professional learning communities that support the ongoing growth of facilitators beyond that initial training. So you can think of the facilitator development or training program as an initial teacher training program, but it's very much more of an apprenticeship approach rather than a sit in a classroom and get lectured approach. And that's kind of the important thing around accelerating growth and impact, right? If you can equip or support facilitators in developing their ability to support each other and seek out the answers themselves, that's going to lead to ongoing growth and learning beyond the program. Because and that's one of the most important things I think we're trying to achieve in this program, because content is all over the place. People can get content, and so we can propose strategies, but what we want to do is really help facilitators turn those strategies into their own, right? And build their own strategy and approach. So we can offer ideas, but if they're able to do that themselves, even better. And that takes confidence and support and feedback. I think we're always looking to improve the program, and our next iteration I think will be the best yet. And the next iteration will kind of emerge from our developing definition of transformative education and what we know it takes to be a facilitator of transformative education. And that will kind of develop into a transformative educator certificate. This is our vision. That will be taken by our facilitators. So it will look a lot like what we have now, but just kind of refining that a bit. And we hope that eventually that will turn into a modular approach that could also be accessible to our facilitators across all our programs. So we have facilitators on Changemaker courses. We would love them to have access to our modules on learning design and learning facilitation and improving learning, and actually ultimately have a pathway to achieving the certificate. And also potentially that becoming accessible to educators or people who want to be educators beyond Amala. So in local community-based organizations and other potential places. And the next ambition as well, I think, is also to support the growth of the team through train the trainer approaches as well. So kind of supporting our local teams in being able to deliver that program themselves as well, again, to accelerate the growth and the impact that can have. Because I mean, it's the same thing. They are going to know a lot better than me what the actual local context and challenges are. So that's kind of our the next phase, I think. There'll be kind of a level of standardization in the approach, but importantly, it's got to be flexible and it's got to have the ability to be contextualized. And that's what's really, really important. So if you have a set of strategies that could work, right, and they have worked in other contexts, it's then up to people in the context itself to work out, well, is this actually worth trying in our context? And working out what the tweaks are that are needed for it to work properly in their context, right? Rather than just taking blindly and saying, well, this is what they say works, so we're going to just do that and do it rigidly in our context. Kind of a bit more critical thinking about it than that. And Stuart McAlpine, who's the founding director of education for Amala, would always talk about having a fractal organization. So it's that everything kind of feeds through at different levels. So I think that's definitely a part of it, right? Our pedagogical model, our learning approaches for students, we take a similar approach where we can with the adults as well.